Everything you're about to hear is for entertainment purposes only. The upcoming conversations are nothing more than the ridiculous opinions of a dropout and a guy dumb enough to be friends with him. Listen, have some fun, but don't ever do, believe, or promote anything they say. They're idiots.
Guys, hold up. You should know, this ain't for everybody. Welcome to Savagely Loud. What's happening, people? Welcome back to the show. I'm glad to be back with you. I'm glad you're back with me. I am Cliff. I am your host, and I am joined today and always by my wonderful co-host, Mikey Wold. How we doing today, Mikey?
I am doing great, man. I gotta say, like last week, and I carried that momentum into this week. Last week was just a great week for me. Like, it was so productive, and even the weekend was like my lazy day. Didn't really have anything going on. So productive as all hell, man.
Yeah.
I love those weeks, man, where it's just, I got so much done, and it was just like,
I love weeks like that myself. You know what? And here's the problem with being a doer, because, like, you know, it's like we always have to up the bar. Like, if we did a certain amount of work last week, we've got to do more work than that this week to be satisfied, you know, with ourselves. So after a while, it does. You just kind of got to, like, just as bad as it sounds, you got to kind of just throw it up in the fucking air and let it fall down and take a break.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's hard to keep it going, but yeah, it's great when it does happen.
Guys, welcome to the show. What we're trying to do here is we're going to just look out at the world, see all the problems it has, take a look at them, dissect them, analyze them, see if we can't come up with the reasons why they're happening, why they are that way, or maybe what we can do to fix it. And if nothing else, what we can do to pull a lesson from it to unfuck our own lives. That being said, guys, if you really want to stay in touch with us and you want to help us out, make sure you're following us on our social media. You can follow us at the Savagely Loud podcast page on Instagram is our primary page. There are links to my personal page, Savagely Loud, and Mikey's page, Woldy2 there. You can find us on YouTube at Savagely Loud Podcast. You can also find us on Spotify and literally every other major platform. If you guys could just leave a review, you know, you can email us too. I mean, savagelyloudpodcast@gmail.com. But if you could leave us a review, hit the bell, hit the like, hit the follow, you know, help us out, you know, show us some love, you know.
Show us something.
See, it's getting smoother as we go. It's getting smoother. We're trying to work things out, guys. So as you know, as some of you know, I did this a couple of years ago, and I was by myself. And now Mikey has graced this whole system with me, and he's adding massive amounts of value. But it takes a little bit of work to find a rhythm, especially when you're used to doing stuff yourself. Having a co-host kind of it makes it better, but it throws a learning curve at it.
Yep. I gotta imagine, even if you were doing it by yourself, it's still a learning curve. Like, you got to get in the swing of it, and it's like, yeah, you got to get into it.
The whole thing with doing shows yourself is you've got to be able to keep it moving. You can't just do this slow pondering thought system all the time. Like, you know, I wonder if that person would have. You can't do that. Like, you got to keep it moving. So, and what's nice, what actually benefits me is that you're so slow mentally that it allows me to.
I just gotta say, I slow myself down for your sake here.
I believe that. I really do. And truth be told, there's nothing in me that thinks that I'm smarter than you. Okay, so I mean, maybe on certain topics, but
it's different.
You know, you've done some things better, definitely. That make you, well, you know, appear smarter on the outside and the inside and all the places, other places that matter.
So we're both smart, just in different ways.
Guys, so before we get started and we get into this shit, we start talking about our real topics. We get a little giggle in called the Daily Drag. That's Mikey's segment. Just a little story to maybe make you giggle, make you think, make you ponder something, laugh, whatever. What you got for us, Mikey?
All right. So today, this one's not so much of a daily drag, but maybe a rant. You motherfuckers that honk when the light turns red or turns green the second it turns green, or I fucking stop at the stop sign and it's like, oh, you stopped. You hit the brakes. You better fucking go honk. Like, you motherfuckers, go fuck yourself, man. I took my daughter out driving yesterday, and it was like the first time, like, on a road, and she was a little bit nervous. And this asshole behind us, we're in our fucking neighborhood, mind you. And this fucking asshole, like, she stops, and there's a car coming, so she's waiting to see what this guy's gonna do, and he honks. I was like, oh, God, if you weren't with me, I'd be getting out of this fucking car right now.
Yeah, that's
dick bag.
Unfortunately, you know what? I hate horns in cars. I really do. I hate the whole idea of it. I understand the necessity behind it. But I would definitely be on that guy's side of things, just vocally inside my own car, like, all right, bitch, what the fuck are you doing? Let's move it on. But you don't need to be so quick on the horn. You know what I mean?
Correct. Like, dude, it just turned green. She literally just stopped. Like, dude, give me a break. Like,
yeah, I see those people that like the light. I mean, even for me, like the light. When the light goes green, my rule is you should be on the fucking floor. We've got places to go, but even me, dude, like I'll get it. Like I'm fast transition from pedal to pedal, and I'll still get every now and then somebody will honk at me, like, and for me, like I'm like, damn, I gotta kind of be a little bit impressed that you had to been hovering there. You had to have your hand on the fucking horn, just waiting, like I'm gonna just come on, motherfucker. Mate, I got it. Fuck you.
Yep. Like, you assholes.
Guys, so before we one more note before we get started. So if you reference our last episode, what was that? Accountability, right? Yes. We talked about accountability. So I want to take a little bit of accountability for me right now, because I want to make I want to do a little bit better for you guys. I want to do a little bit better for me. I want to do a little bit better. So what I want to try to do is I'm going to take accountability for the vernacular that I choose to use, right? I swear a lot. Like I swear a lot. Holy shit, I swear a lot. And you know what? And people will tell me that all the time. And normally I just, for years and years and years, it's like I talk this way because this is the life that life has shown me. You know what I mean? But for years and years, I would just let it roll off my back. I'm like, then just don't listen to the fucking show. I don't really give a shit. Blah, 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 blah. However, some good points have been brought to me by closer people, and they said that I might be able to make a point a little bit better here and there if I just pulled back a little bit. So, and I feel like I agree with that. And it's not me altering myself or my mannerisms for the sake of other people. I'm actually wanting to do this because I feel like it should be done. Like I feel like I should own this weakness of mine, because my let's face it, swearing is my weak link. And it's not swearing in general, because let's face it, I mean, I personally, if you can't listen to somebody or you can't receive a message from somebody because it has a couple of swear words in it, you're beyond fucking savable anyway. However, there is a certain limit. And like I said, like I played a couple of these things back, and I'm like, wow, I actually had more expletives there than contextual words, like, Yeah. So I'm going to work on, and I'm putting this out here for accountability. This is my accountability post. I want to fucking stop swearing so much. It's not going to end by any means. I can trust you. And it's still going to flare up when I flare up. But for the most part, I want to let everybody know I am going to try my hardest to pull back on the expletives.
I will do it with you, man. It's hard. It's hard at times. It just kind of comes out, especially since we're talking. It just kind of like just flows out.
Well, and the thing is like, I mean, we live in this modern society now where people are giving less shits, but we still do have this gigantic demographic. I would actually say it was probably half or maybe a bit over, actually, that they won't give you the time of day if you don't speak somewhat palatably to them. You can't rain down hellfire on their eardrums and expect them to listen to you. And unfortunately, a lot of those people are the people that we want to connect with, because those are the people that we want to affect. Those are the people that we want to get thinking enough to actually stand up, use their voices, and push through that barrier of hate that everybody gets, that we're actually going to talk about, that everybody gets when they start on a mission. And that's the whole idea, is if nobody hates what you're doing, nobody sees what you're doing. And I think that, Mikey, you could agree with that. If nothing else is,
1,000%. I mean, I've seen it. I've been through it, and I mean, I saw it most recently, hugely with you. You know, you were doing your help videos, and like they were great videos. Like, you know, I listened to it, my wife listened to it, and they were great. They helped. It was like, damn, that's a good way to think about things. And then, like you said, fuck it, because people are dicks, people suck, and like that's when your views and your likes and your followers skyrocketed.
Yeah, being
Especially in this day of social media, like hate and drama is what causes views.
yeah,
It's
and unfortunately, you need the views to get any sort of traction.
yeah.
You know, and me and my wife were just talking about it today. We were looking over my Instagram page now. For those of you that are just tuning in and you don't know my personal content on Savagely Loud on Instagram, I spent 3 years doing nothing but personal content. So I've started really heavily getting into personal development content in 2013 when I started a charity club called the Cynical Saint Social Club. Over 3 years of me running that, we raised over $150,000 for local charities. We changed a lot of lives. We did Christmases for people that wouldn't have otherwise had them. We did Christmases for counseling centers for women and battered children. Like, we did a lot of great shit. And that's 2013 is when I really started down this road of personal development, like actively developing myself as a person. And then as of, like I said, for the last 3 years, I did a post, at least a post a day of personal development content. Like, let's take something, something that is a typical feeling, and let's break it down over the course of 2 or 2.5, maybe 3 minutes, just to give you a little tidbit to get you through the day. And you know what? When I first started doing that, when I washed all the other content, I had deleted everything on my page, and I was only going to focus on that. Everybody loved it right out of the gate. When it didn't stop after a month or 2 or 3, people stopped loving it so much. They stopped sharing it. They stopped liking it. They stopped paying attention to it. And so what that did was leave me for the next 3 years basically doing my shit falling on deaf ears. Now, I've gotten a couple of fucking higher profile follows, over the course of the time. But when we talk about follower count, it's easy to rise in follower count on TikTok because it's an open platform. Like, everybody can see everything, nothing's hidden and this and that. So when I fired up the TikTok page again, I started climbing followers easy. But when I was on Instagram, when I did all my personal development content, I was only on Instagram, and I had let's call it viral. It's not viral. I think viral is 2 million or something. It wasn't even close to that, but it was viral enough to pick me up like fucking 1,300 followers overnight. You know what I mean? So, but that's where I stayed. I stayed at I bounced between 1,940 and 1,977 followers for 3 years. 3 fucking years. I did 938 posts of nothing but personal development content, nothing but to make things better for other people, and I couldn't get no traction. After that first little bit, and everybody dissipated, and then nobody gave a fuck, and then nobody came to see it. And the craziest thing about it, though, the absolute craziest thing about it is, everybody that sees my shit, like when I'd be on somebody's podcast and then they go, "Oh, I'm going to check out your page," I'd get a message like, "Dude, your fucking content's amazing. Nobody does it like you, blah, 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 blah." But I still wouldn't get the shares. I still wouldn't get the follows because it was positive, because it was like, you can get better. You can be better. I can be better, and we can be better together, this kind of shit. But it was a real world information. And I get it. The way I did it was somewhat unpalatable to certain people, and that's fine. I'm never going to be for everybody. If you are for everybody, you aren't for anybody, But over the course of that time, I couldn't grow. Nobody saw shit. Nobody noticed shit. I paid for ads on my own shit. Like, I did the whole thing, and I got nothing. And and I would fluctuate. Like I said, I would fluctuate between 1,940 something and 1,970 something. Well, it would be like I'd get 2-3 followers and then want to drop off. And then Instagram would do their, like, we wiped out the old accounts and shit, or the accounts that have been inactive for a couple of months. And then I drop fucking 10 followers. And then I'd pick up 2 or 3 or 4 more. And then I drop a couple, and it just did that for fucking years. Now, what happened? On January 10th, we literally just looked at this, me and my wife. January 10th, I shifted, plus or minus a day. I shifted my content from personal development to talking about the world the way I used to talk about the world, because that's the way the content I'm doing now is the content I used to do before I went to personal development. I was like, I'm just going to help people get better because, there was people that helped me get better, blah, 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 blah. And it just went nowhere. It fucking went nowhere. And, which is really kind of a stick in my ass. And I want to break that down really quickly. But January 10th, I shifted my content to talking about the world. And I'm not talking about the world in gentle manners. Like my video today that I posted this morning was literally all about how we as white people have been raised our entire lives with the understanding that just us being born makes us racist. We are told,
especially now. Yeah,
and we're told now, especially now, that we are the only people that can be racist. Black people cannot be racist. Brown people cannot be racist. Purple people, pink people, rainbow people cannot be racist. Nobody but white people can be racist. And if you go too hard into the not racist, now you're mega racist because now you're a sympathizer or whatever they call you. You're
appropriating.
You're appropriating. You're condescending in a culture, and But my video was about, well, if that's the case, let's take a look at the reality, because a lot of people mix up the R words. They mix up reality with racism, because when white people ask questions, they call it racism. When anybody else asks the questions, it's called reality. So I just addressed reality in my video, and I asked, well, if white people are the ones that have always been so hell-bent on the destruction of all other lands and all other people, why is it that when we look across the global landscape and we look at these dozens and dozens of mass migration events, why are we not seeing any white people? Because in these mass migration events, we're seeing devastation. We are seeing groups of people that are from one place that are forcibly going to another place that they've been told they're not allowed, and they're forcing their way in anyway. And then they're devastating the areas that they set up their encampments, and they're devastating the way of life of the people that lived there before they got there. And they're doing it with zero fucks given about anything.
Oh, yeah.
So why is it that we're told that white people are the ones that are destroying everything when all we see are brown people destroying everything? Yeah. Simple question. It's not racist. It's an observation and it's a question. But I know I'll continue to get more shit than, I've got some really good ones. You are to go back to Europe's. What the fuck does that mean? Like, that's the kind of dumb shit I get when I post stuff like this. Like, you are to go back to Europe's. Okay, you can't even put together a coherent sentence, and I'm supposed to listen. But
I wasn't from Europe, but okay.
But now, as I had mentioned, I want to break something down with this personal development thing. The reason I feel like it's a giant stick in my ass is because I feel like I was duped. And I feel like I was duped along with millions and millions of other people. And I've been actually having this conversation with a lot of fucking people out there lately about, we all were in a position where we were malleable. So we would get our, influencers would come into our life, into our lives, and we would connect with them. We would feel a connection with these influencers. So we would start listening, maybe too intently, but we would start listening. They would captivate us. And then we wanted to start doing things, and we wanted to start making things happen. And then we would start, and then the longer we listened to them, we started getting down on ourselves. Okay. People that are doers, for everybody that's not a doer, and I don't mean that as an offensive thing, but if you're not a doer, if you just go to work every day and you come home and you fuck around in the house, that's being not a doer. If you're not a doer, you have to understand that the doers, the people that do go to work and then they come home and then they work on other shit to, build their future and secure the existence of their family. We spend most of our time down on ourselves. Like, we really do. Yeah. We spend most of our time, we didn't get that done. We didn't get that quite wrapped up. We could have got that done, or we could have started that. That's the world we live in. We're always in this mental fucking shitstorm of what we should be doing, what we could be doing, and what we need to be doing, and all this other stuff. But now, so we've got this a large group of people, millions and millions upon millions of people that have spent years having our favorite influencers tell us that, we'll make it. We just got to keep working. We'll make it. We just got to keep working as hard as we can possibly work in the rightest directions of all, blah, 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 blah. So we did that, and we didn't get there. Now, what are we hearing from our favorite influencers that told us things like, if you haven't made it, you just haven't done it long enough. Or if you haven't made it, you're doing the wrong things. Or if you haven't made it this, haven't made it this. You can't possibly, here's the greatest one, and it's from one of my favorite guys, so I'm not going to name him because I still have a lot of love in my heart for him, even though I'm a little bit bitter about he is involved in this kind of shit. The biggest one was, you can't possibly do the work and not get the result.
Yeah, that's a bullshit statement.
But now what we're seeing is him, along with most of the other influencers that I actually follow. We're starting to see them kind of backpedal that. We're starting to see them pull back on the rhetoric of you just got to work harder longer. You just got to do it for the right reasons. You just got to do it with the right, you just got to do. We're starting to pull back. We're starting to see them pull back on them. And in fact, one of my favorite dudes actually said in one of his shows that you have to be, now in order to make it in a business, you have to be an anomaly. But in order to be that anomaly, you have to beat the odds just to get the opportunity. So now what we're seeing is the biggest entrepreneurial influencers on the fucking earth tell us that everything they told us for the last 10 years was bullshit. Everything they fucking told us for the last 10 years about you just got to keep working, keep at it. You can't possibly do this much work without getting a result. Well, now we're seeing them tell us that it was all bullshit. Well, oh no, but it's always, it's not like, it's always in light of this new evidence that we just found out that the government was fucking us. We just found out. We
just found out that they weren't using our taxes for what they say they are. No, really?
Well, and one of the worst, and here's the other thing too, is one of the worst things is like, I listen to a lot of fucking influencers, and I hate to call them influencers, but unfortunately that's the term we use now, Mm-hmm. So I do listen to a lot of high-end, top-shelf influencers, entrepreneurial people, entrepreneurs, business moguls, all this kind of stuff. And they're all saying it now. So now it's a double header. Now it feels like not only have we all been duped by the influencers, but we've also been duped by our government. And both of the people that have duped us, as it would turn out, came from money. Because I don't know if there's a single influencer that I follow, and people that know me know who I follow and the types of influencers that I follow. A lot of these people say they came from nothing, but they didn't. Because I'm sorry, you might not have had much money in your pocket, but if your dad was worth $46 million, you probably had a fucking education somewhere along the way. You know what I was doing when I was growing up? I was scraping fucking paint on fucking undercoating off of the bottom of cars in the driveway. That's not an education on how to make $1 million. If I was watching my dad jet set across the country or build massive companies, I probably would have been a little bit better off, But now I guess let me flip side this, okay? Because I always have to devil's advocate this, because there's a lot of people now that are saying, well, now I don't have to do anything because it's useless. It's pointless, right? Now we've all been duped. They sold us their shit. We're done in their eyes. That's all they wanted. Blah 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 blah. So why bother? The people we admire most said you have to be an anomaly in order to have the chance to be an anomaly. So why bother? Well, there's a lot of reasons that you should be bothering, and mainly, so your life doesn't suck.
I mean, in my mind, that's such a bullshit statement. It's just a bullshit statement. That one really grinds my gears, much as my berries, whatever the fuck you want to say. Talk about taking anybody's drive that even wants to do something and just making them feel like, all right, well, why bother now? I was going to do this, or I wanted to do XYZ. all right, why bother now? Like, screw that, man. Like, I am a firm believer that if you're doing what you like to do, like if you can find a career, you can find a hobby that you really like, uh, you'll be all right. You got to keep at it and shit. Like you got to kind of really put yourself out there and really put effort into it, but you'll be all right.
Yeah, you'll be all right. You'll work through it. I mean, I see, and I have a different view on the passion as work. Like, I got a passion for certain things. Like I like painting shit. Speaking of which, paintings, let's look, if you're just listening on audio, I'm pointing in the wall behind me where I am painting the backdrop for the show. It's going well. It's looking pretty cool. I haven't worked on it for like a week and a half because I've been busy with other shit, but it's taking shape. It's looking really cool. If you can't see it, sucks to be you.
Hey, no, if you wanted it, you just would have worked harder at it.
Yeah. I don't need to sleep at all during the night.
No.
There's always more hours in the day. What is Ed Milet? I am. Let me preface this with I am absolutely not talking shit about Ed Milet. Ed Milet's an amazing human being on every fucking level. He's an amazing entrepreneur, a businessman. He's changed millions of lives. He employs a lot of fucking people that change. I'm not throwing any shade. But one thing he says I find stupid. He says, I double my hours in my day. So from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. is one day. And from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. is another day. What did I get done today? And it doubles my days. Now, he says it better than I'm saying. Like, I'm butchering it. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm butchering it.
I'm sure.
But that's what he is. He says he gets 2 days out of every day. And I just find that to be just absurd. Just like you're just moving time markers around and calling it something else. It's still the same hours. It's still the same, But here's the other thing.
2 days today because I did my job from 6 to 12 and then from 12 to 6. I mean, I'm doing this now too. Is this day 3?
Now, I mean, if that's what's gotten him to the level he's
that's
at,
true.
We can't argue it. I am fully admitting, embracing, accepting that I'm the dumb guy here. But that sounds like a stupid premise to me. It's, I just call every day 2 days, and then fucking I got twice as much time on this planet. It's like, I took this $1 out of my left pocket and put it in my right pocket, and now I've got $2.
$2 now.
I like the 4. $2. You got $2.
If I change it back, I got $4. Because I done doubled it twice.
But you know what? But speaking of guys like these people that we're talking about, they are. I mean, it's inarguable. They are on the top shelf. They have made it. Even though most of them would say, "I haven't made it yet," to the masses, they'll say it to their fucking buddies. They all know they made it when they're isolating themselves from society. Like, you don't have to be so humble when you're sleeping in your fucking castle, not letting anybody message you on your fucking social media platforms. We know you've made it.
Yeah. When you can say I have people for that, and no, you have people for that,
or say things like, "Well, money just solves the problem, so get more money." Money solves problems. Well, who would have thought? I can get more money. But
wait, you're saying that if I just put $2 more in my pocket, I'll have better luck? Like,
right? But these guys, They were what inspired me to shift my content away from the real world stuff and just concentrate on being better. Because I for my whole life, I've wanted to make myself and other people better. I've done the fucking work. It's again, as the risk of sounding redundant here, it's inarguable. I've done the work. There's very few people on the earth that have come from what I've come from and could talk like I talk, associate with people like I do, this kind of things. But when I shifted my content to touch back on that whole, if nobody hates what you're doing, nobody sees what you're doing. Remember when I said I stayed between 1940s and 1970s in follower count for 3 years?
3 years.
January 10th, I shifted my content. And since then, and we all know that getting followers on Instagram is not fucking easy. It's not nearly as easy as these massive influencers would say, oh, you just put out great content and then followers just pour in. No, that's not how it works at all.
No, not at all.
But since January 10th to the date of this recording, which is, I don't know, March 5th or some shit. March, what is it? No, I'm curious. What is it? What's the date today?
It's the 3rd.
The 3rd. Okay, so this is coming out on the 5th. Yeah, I mean it's March 5th. But
yeah. We recorded it this morning.
From January 10th to March fucking 3rd, I've gone up more than 400 followers. I've taken for 3 years I was struggling. I really am not embellishing this at all. For 3 years, I struggled every single day to keep my reach on Instagram to about 1,000. I would usually sit at about 900, 970. Every now and then I'd have a really good video that would get like 5 likes, and I would go to 1,100, 1,200, and then right back down. Since January 10th, my reach has now gone up to 54.6 thousand.
Jesus.
54.6 thousand and 400 plus followers in a month and a half.
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate. Like, hate drives things. And it is like drama and hate, that shit drives. Why do you think the news and the media went that way? Why do you think every news is 90% bad?
If it bleeds, it leads.
Exactly. I mean, it's never like, oh yeah, Chicago was great. This happened today. It's like, oh yeah, there was a shooting, a carjacking, another shooting. A kid was, somebody was raped, another shooting.
Right. Like, but how are people supposed to get into their head and to just, I want to beat this dead horse again with these influencers. How are people supposed to get into their head that they're supposed to find their mission and keep on keeping on if now all of our favorite influencers are saying it's relatively senseless?
You have to be a unicorn in order to get anywhere.
Yeah, you got to be an anomaly to have the opportunity to be an anomaly. It's really hard. So I think then what it does is it comes down to people like us, like the normal Joes that, a handful of people in our lives listen to, a handful of people on our Instagrams and stuff listen to. It falls back down on us to reiterate the idea of, or actually, let's say, reiterate the way the system works if you want to get somewhere. Because you've gotten somewhere, and I've gotten somewhere. I'm one of the best in the fucking world at fixing and building cars in custom fabrication. You are one of the best in the world with all of that computer shit that I have no idea anything about. Okay, so we understand the process of getting somewhere. Okay.
Yes.
And it all does really, truly fall back on you need to be seen. If you're not seen, you can't get your work out. If you're not seen, you can't be heard. If you're not heard, you can't get your message out. So what does it mean to get seen, to get heard? Well, typically the way people work is people hate on shit. We do that first. So when you put your stuff out, like I had said about my personal development stuff, I put it out there and up front, everybody was like, good for you, you're changing. And I'm going to tell you why that happened. When I put my personal development stuff out, everybody knew it was going to fail. Everybody knew it was going to end, and everybody knew I was going to get found out to be a fraud. That's why they loved it up front, because I have always been the guy that people knew was going to go nowhere. I was always the guy that people knew nobody was ever going to like, nobody was ever going to respect, nobody was ever going to appreciate it. And now, because I take ownership of my history, none of that, a lot of that was not unfounded thoughts. It really wasn't.
Oh, I believe it.
When I would walk into people's houses, friends of mine, and then immediately start blasting rails on their fucking kitchen counter, I understand that I did this. I took these actions that made people feel this way. Now, that was many, 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 many years ago. And I'm just unfortunately one of those people that exist in the world that we just don't get an opportunity to change the way we look in anybody else's eyes that knew us when we were down, or when we were evil, or when we were
correct.
negative, or when we were racist, or when we were whatever. We just don't get the opportunity to live that down. Everybody loves a comeback story unless that comeback story is better than something that they could do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would. Everyone likes it in theory, I would say. Everyone likes it when it's way after the fact and they're looking back on it.
Yeah.
Nobody likes it in the meantime of it.
Well,
I mean, a lot of people don't. A lot of people like, oh yeah, he's coming back. Okay, if you say so. Like, good luck.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with who you are. I mean, there are people,
I would agree.
and this goes for a lot more for, you know, everybody that's grown up with other kids. You know, you're going to have people that don't like you. I understand this. Yeah, I'm a little bit higher on the scale of people have memories of me that they do not cherish. They do not appreciate, you know.
I believe it.
Yeah. So I'm just that guy that's just never going to get the chance. So what I have to do is I have to double down on myself and go twice as hard in the paint to get anybody to notice anything. But up front, when I did this personal development thing, everybody cheered it on because they knew I was going to fail. They knew I was just going to get found out to be a fraud. They knew I was going to quit. And then what happened? I didn't quit. And not only did I not quit, I got better. And then I started getting noticed by some fucking pretty high profile people. And then that turned them off because now I'm reminding them that this thing can be done. You can be a complete and total shitbag and come back from it. You know, I'm never gonna be that eating on the silver with the suit. You know, I'm not that guy. I'm probably always gonna talk like a sailor, but you know what? I'm fine with that because where I've come from and where I've gone is farther than most people that I grew up with have ever gone anywhere. Yeah. So, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. And yeah, I mean, like you said, you know, once people started seeing like, oh yeah, he's gonna do it. He's not failing like I thought he was going to. He's actually all right. It's been a year. Fuck, man. Like, people don't like success, and I can't wrap my head around it. I'm not wired that way. I love seeing people succeed. Like, I don't take that personally. Like, oh, I should have been the one succeeding. Like, nah, dude. Like, that's you. Good for you, man. Like, I'm gonna prop myself up by myself. Like, I mean, you, for example, I love the fact that you succeeded. Like, dude, before we even reconnected, it was like, fuck yeah, man, get it. And a lot of people, though, they just, I don't know if it's jealousy or what, but they're just like, no, that's mine. Like, no.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. And that's the typical mentality of people is, you know, it depends on who it is. It depends on how long it is, what it takes, this and that, you know, and as to how much respect you'll get. But then, you know, and if you do change minds, they're still sitting there waiting. They're just sitting there twiddling their thumbs, just staring into your videos, just waiting for that gotcha moment, you know? So it's
gotta be able to say, I told you so.
Yeah. You know,
I knew it.
Yep. But here's the thing. I didn't quit, no matter how much it hurt not to quit. And I want to convey that message in this because there are a lot of people out here that have a lot of value to offer the world, society, the internet, their close family, their friends, whoever it may be and wherever it may be. There's a lot of people out here that have a lot of value to offer, but they don't understand how the process works. So they get to the next stage. So you got that first stage everybody supports. They start tapering off when you don't fail. They don't know how to get to that next, you know, like get through that next stage of there's some hate coming in. There's going to be some negativity coming your way because the first thing people do when you shake their cage, and that's not necessarily even a bad thing. Shaking the cage is a reference I make to just getting noticed. You made them. Something about what you did or you said, a mannerism, something happened in that content that made them notice you. You shook their cage and they didn't like it.
No. Because
they know they don't have the ability to shake cages. They don't have the ability in them to make people notice them. And even if they did have the ability, they also understand that they don't have the content, and they don't have the context. They don't have the information. They don't have anything to offer to even keep you captivated if they could hook you.
No. Hate comes from ignorance and not knowing things. I mean, if you have a conversation with somebody and it turns to emotions and hate, they don't know what they're talking about. End of story. Like, they don't know what they're talking about.
Well, emotional people are the most easy to manipulate, which is an episode we've got coming up, and it's going to be a fun one, because it's going to be a wake up call for a lot of people. Let's hope, right? But that once you get to that stage of hate, that's where people stop. They're like, man, and I almost did too. Ask my wife. My wife talked me through it several times. Like, I'm like, dude, why the fuck am I putting all this stuff? I'm putting a lot of effort into getting up every single morning, working out what I want to do, putting it all together, doing 85 takes to get the fucking thing right. And then I'm sharing it out there. I'm doing this. It's a lot of work. Why am I doing all this work if everybody just hates it? Like, this is shit. Like, how do we go from everybody liking it to a very brief stint of silence and then everybody hating it? Like, what happened? Man. I had to learn that hard way too, and it was just like, well, then hate it. That's what I did, because I'm that guy. Yeah. Like, I'm like, then hate it. I'm gonna keep going, and I'm gonna go a little bit harder actually. And then I kept on going, and then the next phase. Woo, this one's a killer for a lot of people. The silence.
Oh, yeah.
So you start getting noticed, and you get your hate, you get your negativity, and you get your bitterness. I think that's the better word for it. I know it's not so much hate. It's more just bitterness. It's just ugliness, You get that, and then things go silent for a minute. And that silence is where you start learning who you are. You're like, okay, so nobody likes it, and now nobody even hates it. What's going on?
What am I doing here?
Yep.
Am I talking to myself now?
Yep. But that silence stage, the stage of silence, that stage of no man's land, of not really knowing if it's hitting, if it's not. Like, I'm getting the views, I'm just not getting the reactions. I'm getting the downloads, but I'm not getting the, whatever. That stage is a lot easier to deal with than that hate stage, because that hate stage, where if nobody hates what you're doing, nobody sees what you're doing, that's where you have to understand that you're starting to get noticed. Your message is starting to get out. You're starting to shake those cages, and you have to shake the cage to get noticed. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes.
How many? I think I really do. I think about, sometimes I just sit and I think about how much great shit in the world hasn't happened because people they weren't given this information. Maybe they weren't given this information, or maybe they just didn't have the wherewithal to push through that negativity, that bitterness.
Or they got the hate and couldn't muster the powering through it. Like, I gotta imagine, especially for you, like in the social arena of things, like that hate just really has to like eat at you at the beginning until you get used to it, or you're that type of person that's just like, whatever. That's a them problem and not a me problem.
Well, I'll be honest with you on that one, because you know what, I've been hated most of my life. In fact, probably all my life, really, to be honest with you, for different reasons. Sometimes it was intentional, and sometimes it was, yeah, right. I see that voodoo doll back there, my fucking face on it. But I've been hated most of my life for different reasons, Like early on, it was like everybody hated the beat up kid that came to school all bruised and bloodied up and awkward clothes, and then it turned into like, I hate this dude's a fucking asshole. Like nobody likes him because he's an asshole and he knows it. And then it turned into a bunch of other things. But I've been hated most of my life, or I've been disliked or unrespected, most of my life. But I will tell you, even today, like the amount of it that I get, okay? So like I put up these posts and I'll get, I might get 1,000 comments on something. A third of them are hate. A third of them are like, you need to fucking die, fuck you, blah, 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 blah. And typically I laugh at them. Like, it's like, if you're like, you're going to be the one to do the work to hunt me down for a video on the internet to come halfway and spend the money to come halfway across the country to kick my ass? I don't think so. That's why you're sitting on Instagram at 1:30 in the afternoon, you two.
Correct.
You know, like, because you got no money, you know? Like,
yeah.
But after
you needs to go back to Europe's.
Yeah, used to goes to back to Europe's. But you know, but even that being said, when you're inundated, even me, like when I'm inundated with this, like sometimes I put up and it's like Instagram, like they don't show you the positive all the time. Facebook doesn't show you the positive all the time. No. So I'll see the negative on the banners. And there is times where like, I'm like, okay, I gotta turn the banners off. Like I gotta turn my notifications off because it still does wear on you. And and I don't want to make it sound like I'm Mr. Badass, mentally unfuckwithable. I am. But if you take enough of any sort of torment, you will crumble. You will fold to it. So there are times that you're going to get, you know, that kind of, depending on what kind of content you're putting out.
Yeah.
If you're talking about realistic things, especially having to do with like race, religion, location, or a country of origin, and you're talking about this kind of stuff, political policies, you're going to get a lot more into that hate arena than you would if you were like, sure, I'm making my new soap. You know, like it's good for you. It's good for your skin. It's exfoliating. You know, but even then, you're still going to get hate. So like, if you are that person and you're just, I want to make soap, you're going to get hate. People are like, oh yeah, why should I pay $6 for your bullshit soap when I could go get Irish Spring for $1.99? Yeah. Well, mine doesn't make your skin bubble, so I maybe.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I see it all the time. Like, you know, everyone gets ads on this shit, and like you're like, oh yeah, let me see what this is about. This looks interesting, or it looks kind of cool. And half of it is hate. Half of it is like, yeah, you fucking dick bags. This shit don't work. Go fuck yourselves. And it's just like, nobody buy it. And it's just like, God damn, people.
Well, and also too, you have to understand is like, I'm going to let people in on this little secret that Facebook and Instagram do. Excuse me. If you've never put up incendiary content before, you probably don't know that this happens. What Facebook and Instagram do is you have to understand that everything they do on their business model is all backed by point and click. They need the clicks and they need the views. Well, how do you get the most views? Piss people off. So let's go back to January 10th when I said I shifted my content. January 12th, Facebook started showing me nothing but shit from Mexico, Mexican fucking Facebook pages, all in Spanish. The Native Americans, I get inundated with fucking Native American shit from post after post after post about nobody's illegal on stolen land, and it's all stolen land, even though we're not allowed to talk about how Mexico stole it, just Americans. Who else do I get? I get some China shit every now and then. You know, Chinese quality is above and beyond, blah blah blah. You know, and it's just you literally look at my feeds and you're like, these people are trying to piss me off.
Oh, for sure.
So when you get that, understand if you got that soap page, let's go, it's exfoliating soap and it's good for your skin. It makes you feel so soft and supple like a lady. And then all of a sudden it's like, somebody's fuck your soap. Understand in that moment, Facebook thought there was something about your post that would piss somebody off. And you need to lean into that. Lean into it. Because negative publicity is the best publicity I've ever gotten. Like, dude, I have gotten so many. Dude, I have had numerous fucking big name entrepreneurs share my shit. I'll name drop a few of them. I've had fucking Andy Frisella share my shit. I've had fucking Dominic Izzo share my shit. I've had a couple other ones that they really don't want me to name them, but and I would get a couple of followers. Like Andy would share my shit and I would get like 10, 15 followers. And then within 2 weeks, they'd all gone away.
Oh, I'm sure.
But now if somebody, when like Joe Nobody shares my shit and remixes it, this fucking stupid gringo, blah, 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 and just goes into every.
He's getting it.
I get dozens of followers and then they stick around. They're like, man, if I wouldn't have followed that douchebag, I'd have never found you. That has literally been said to me. If I didn't follow that douchebag, I would have never found you. So
Damn.
that's the whole thing, is no matter how it happens, it will happen, but it's probably not going to happen like you think it is. Most people want to start their mission and they want to think that everything's going to be roses. I'm doing really good for society. I'm helping people out like I thought. And then I started getting hate. I'm like, what? Why am I getting hate? I'm just telling everybody they could be better, you know? Yeah. And then I started talking about even more better, you know, like deeper ways to better yourself. And then it was more and more hate. Yeah, like how fucking dare you remind me that I'm not doing anything with my life, blah, 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 blah. But if you're that person,
I can be a better person.
Yeah, right. But if you're that person, if you're that person on a mission, you're going to have to understand you're not going to get love. You're not going to get all the love right out of the gate. You're not going to get all the respect and all the admiration. You are, in fact, going to be tested. You are going to be put to the fire, and the fates and the universe and God are all going to team up, and they're going to make sure that you're worthy and make sure you want what you're about to get into, because once you push through that, growth happens. You know, you got to push through that first wall, then growth. Then you're going to get another wall, then growth. You know, it always gets harder right before you level up. And I have found in my life, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to fucking make this statement right now. Y'all motherfuckers might not know me at the end of 25 because I'm going to be a billionaire. I know it, because 25 has sucked so bad from front to back, from January to fucking March right now. It's like if it could have gone wrong, it did go wrong, and then it went wrong again. Like but it's the beauty of it. Like, I understand what's happening, because this is my life. I live by this credo of, if you start weak, you will finish strong. Mm-hmm. If you start strong, if you don't pay attention, you'll probably finish weak, because you're gonna gas out, you know. And so this year has started fucked up, so it's gonna end awesome.
It's definitely one of those, like, it is crazy that, like, yeah, when it's like, when you're like, oh man, this is rough, man. This is kind of one of my lowest of lows here. Like, I'm struggling to power through this one. Like, that's where, like, you do get the most growth. Like, it is 1,000% true. Yeah. I mean, it is like, you kind of think like, this can't get any worse, and it does. And it's just like, how am I ever gonna make? And then you do, and it's just like, how the hell did I make it out of that? And then it's, wow, I grew so much getting out of that. Yeah.
Well, then you get to a point mentally where you're like, where I'm at now, where like you get times like, I mean, guys, I'm years and years into this, so I understand what I'm looking at here. But you get it, and you get excited. You're like, oh man, these fucking times suck, man. These times just chewing me up and spitting me out, and chewing me up again, and then spitting me out again. But man, I'm learning so damn much right now that I don't even know I'm learning. I know I'm learning things. If nothing else, it's how to emotionally adapt and overcome. Yep. It's how to mentally adapt to the situation. It's, you know, you how to pivot, how to move. You're learning things. I'm learning things. So I understand how to pick those time spans out. And then I learn how to get excited for what's coming next. Because like I said, life always sucks the most right before you're about to level up. Mm-hmm. You know,
I mean, there is a saying, I'm having a brain fart now, but it's like, you know, out of the ashes came whatever. I'm drawing a big brain fart on what the actual saying is, but like,
I think I know what you're saying. Yeah, I don't remember. I don't know the actual metaphor.
Yeah,
but
it's like the fire of the fire, and you turn into ash, and from the ashes rose whatever. It's something like that. But it is definitely one of those, like, you know, right now I'm at a good point, but I know I have some shit starting here that's going to kick my ass. Yeah. And I am so excited for it. Like, I'm ready to get my ass kicked by it. Like,
right.
Bring it on.
Because you know it's not going to be forever.
Correct. And I know I'm going to learn so much about myself and what I can handle and how to handle a lot of different things coming at me from different angles. A lot of I'm excited for it.
And that's one of the biggest things people need to learn is how to, maybe not necessarily how to deal so well with the really big stuff, but how to deal better with the influx of constant stuff. Even if it's little, it's constant. And that's, you know, and what'll happen is you'll get that little constant stuff that once you learn how to deal with that, and then God will test you again. Then he'll throw the big stuff in, and he'll sprinkle some of the little stuff in, and then you work through that. And next thing you know, nothing really scares you anymore. You're like, all right, I got to, and like you can see him down the pipeline. You can look right down and be like, all right, I got some problems coming my way. What are we gonna do about those now? That one, before it gets here, get that one fixed and get this over situated, and you can start picking out solutions and remedies before they even come. You know what I mean? But
1,000%.
For me lately, it's been a lot of mental stuff and like a lot of physical stuff, like the irritating rash kind of thing, like where like I still got that fucking abscess. Like this thing started as like a pimple or ingrown hair or something, and it turned into like one of those foam footballs on my fucking chest.
Jesus.
Yeah, it got bad. And I had to go to the doctor for it, and there's really nothing they can do. I mean, it's just, antibiotics, hot compresses, whatever. It's pretty well on its way out now, but like that was several weeks of like and still discomfort, but it was several weeks of pain. I had that whatever that bit me on the back of my arm or whatever that caused that weird rash that they didn't know what it was. That was painful as fuck. Like it's just been one thing after the other, and then best friend decides he wants to fucking walk out of my life, which I don't know is a blessing or or not yet. I think it's probably going to end up being a blessing, but it's this stuff. It's the constant stuff. That's a big stuff, but the little rash, the abscess, this is little stuff.
I don't want to put at the same time.
And it's all at the same time.
Yes.
So
I mean, January, I was down for the count damn near the whole month of January.
Yeah.
Like, what did you do January? I think I worked 4 days and laid in my bed and was miserable. Like it was like, all right, this is happening.
Yep. But you get to that point in your life and in your mindset where you just you're gonna push through it, and you get excited for what's on the other end, because what's on the other end is a new, it's the 2.0 of the version you are now. But and because I can tell you first and foremost, in my life, I have learned more, and I know everybody was going to tell you because it's a fact, but everybody will tell you I've learned more from my failures than I have from my successes.
Oh yeah,
it's 100% fact. But I'm going to take that a step further. I have learned more about myself and the world breaking down in a blubbering, tear-filled, pooling mess of a person on the floor in my basement when on my breakdowns, because I've got a fucking huge order that's got to go out tomorrow, and I am halfway done, and we're not gonna get there. And then next thing you know, I got this thing that the press collapses, and now the screen's got a hole in it, and it's like everything happens, and then you just break down into this mess on the floor, and you cry it out. You swear out, you swear up and down at God for doing this to you. You're telling yourself, I'm fucking done. I'm quitting. I'm not doing this anymore. And 10 minutes later, you kind of you find yourself, you don't even like kind of do it consciously. You just find yourself getting back up, drying the tears and being like, well, things got to get done. So let's get it done. You know,
nothing to do it, but to do it.
But think about how many, let's go back to that really quick. Think about how many things in this world could be so much better. Think about all the inventions we don't even know might have been invented, all because people they didn't have the information that you needed to get to where you're going. And that information is that if nobody hates it, nobody sees it. And if nobody hates what you're doing, nobody sees what you're doing. You need people to see what you're doing in order to get your thing. Imagine the things that we're missing out on because people couldn't push through that or didn't push through that.
Yeah.
And that's not even to throw any shade at them. It's just they didn't have the information. I mean, some of them are weak bitches too. Let's be honest. Some people are just stupidly weak-minded, spineless cowards of life, and they can't handle it.
There are some that just can't deal with hate, and hey, whatever. I mean,
as soon as you tell them their life's fucked up, they run out on a 25-year relationship.
But I mean, that's just kind of how they're wired at that point, and maybe they don't want to admit it to themselves. I don't know. That's. I mean, like you said, I can't even imagine how many people had thoughts of things that would have made this world crazy good.
Yeah.
But did it, but we're like, okay, where do I start? And gave up on it.
Or how many wonderful hearted people could have been in politics?
Exactly.
Could have been our politicians. but they couldn't push through it. They couldn't get it through it. It's just
Or like
So sad.
they got, they didn't know where to start, or were like, oh, I got hate. This guy's in my life now. I can't do it. Like, it's nuts, man.
Well, I think a lot of it is by design too. And
for sure
as we
it
think
is.
about this, because I think a lot of it is by design. It's geared towards that. Like, it's geared to put you into the grinder so that you just go away. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
and you're taught, like, well, especially when it comes to social media. And you and I come from a time before social media, and it still feels weird, even though social media has been around about half our life now.
Very weird.
It still feels really weird, like we don't belong here. And I'm sure there's a lot of younger generations that would tell us we don't. But especially on social media, like, they tell you you're supposed to give the masses what they want. If you're giving the masses what they want, you will gain notoriety. If you're not giving them what they want, you'll gain nothing. But the reality of that is they just want bullshit, and you don't want to deliver that. So when you decide, I'm not going to deliver the bullshit, you're going to get the hate.
Yes. And even when you do deliver the bullshit, you're going to get the hate. Like, they just want drama is what sells. Whether it's hate or whether it's drama is what sells.
And that
End
can be
of
a
discussion.
That can be a good tool for people to understand. We had talked a couple episodes ago, maybe, about being performative. When you're out here and you're shaking cages, some of this is performative. Like, some of this is overemphasized and overembellished because you got to shake those cages. But when you talk to us normally, we're just normal people. We hang out. We're not really any different than we are now. We're just tuned down a little bit because you, again, have to shake the cages.
Oh yeah.
If you can't shake the cages, I don't know that you really want your message out. And that's the other thing too, is because I hear a lot of people, because I do talk to a lot of people, because I'm still known for my personal development content. So people are still reaching out all the time, and I'm still talking to the people I've spent years talking to about their issues and whatnot. But fucking brain fart. I got old again. What was I saying?
Getting old sucks, man.
That's not what I was saying.
I know that, but I was just saying that too.
But yeah, no.
Getting old.
Yeah, fuck, man. Did we do the daily grind? How about the daily grind where you're getting old? And
That's next week.
Completely lose track of what you're. But yeah, okay.
So today's daily drag is when. Fuck.
But performative. Like, I still talk to the people that that we talk about their issues, and they still see me as this dude, as where our new people that are coming in, especially following the podcast page, I have a lot of podcasts on Instagram. They see a different side of us. They see a more performative version of the cage shakers.
Well, you have to be. I mean, you're on a media type platform. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, but Taylor Swift is not Taylor Swift from fucking her performances.
No. Well, that's what I was going to say. It's because, so people, if you have a mission, you have a message, you have a product, you have something that you need to get to the masses. If you're too scared to shake the cages of the people that you need to hear about this thing you've got going on, you don't really want it as much as you think you do. So let's just put that idea to bed. If it's more important to you to not have somebody on Facebook call you an asshole than it is to get your message out, then you have no message, and we need to just not clutter up the airways. It doesn't fuck up your life, because you don't have to be guilty about, well, I have this message, but I really don't want to deal with this. You don't have a message. You're not addicted to it. You're not married to it. If it's not important enough for you to take a couple of arrows now and then, just put it to bed. Live your life peacefully the way you want to live. And I'm really, really genuinely not throwing any shade, as much as it may sound I am. Just live your life. Put that guilt to bed of, not getting your message out, because you just don't have it in you. And that's okay, because there's a lot of other things in you that you do have that the cage shakers don't have, like tact. I have zero tact. I can shake every cage on the fucking planet, but I don't have any tact. Like I am the proverbial bull in a china shop.
Yep.
You know, so there's virtue and benefit to everybody. You just might not have what you want.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that.
No. Well, the whole world needs everybody to be different. Like we need people to be jewelers. We need people to be bakers. We need people to be mechanics. We need people to be computer programmers. We need people of all sorts of different walks of life. And if we all thought the same, we'd all want to do the same shit. And what would happen? The world would cease to exist because we'd have,
everyone wants to be a fucking baker.
Yeah, 350 billion bakers and no farmers,
Correct. Ain't no cars to get anywhere.
So, well, let's swing this thing back around. Let's go through. Guys, you have to understand, if you got a mission or you got a message and you want to get it out there, you're going to take some arrows. If nobody hates what you're doing, nobody sees what you're doing. And you'll be able to prove that to yourself if you just get moving on your social media. If you have a social media, let's say it's already moving and you're on it and you're not getting any reactions. Let's say you're sharing funny videos or you're putting up posts, that you think are insightful or thoughtful or motivational maybe, and you're getting zero reactions. It's because nobody sees what you're doing. So what you should do is try to shake the cage a little bit. You have to do the pattern interrupt, and that's literally what it's called. People operate on patterns. Mentally, we operate on patterns. You have to interrupt that pattern, i.e. shake the cage, to get noticed. So try doing that. And what you're going to find is you're going to shake somebody's cage and they're going to talk a little shit. They're going to throw a little shade. Well, that's your signal that you're going in the right direction. You've got somebody to notice you good enough to want to comment.
And that's just going to bring more attention your way. Somebody's going to see his bullshit comment and stick up or write it, and that's going to bring more people to look at it.
It goes right back to if you fuck up, if you do the right thing with a customer, they don't tell anybody. But if you fuck up, they tell all of their friends and their whole social media. So bad publicity. Even if you think that comment like nobody likes your soap, you might take that to heart. Don't do that, first and foremost. Don't pay attention to the comments.
Yep.
You might have certain thoughts about that would lead you to wanting to stop. Don't do that. You have to understand, no matter what you think, no matter how counterintuitive it is for your brain processes, you have to understand that if you've got a negative comment, you have to compare it to the 0 comments you got it before. So now somebody at least noticed. And if they don't like it enough, they'll share it with all their friends, and then you're going to get followers. You're going to get likes. You're going to get shares,
buy the soap
comments.
Because they'll be like, I gotta see what's wrong with this soap.
Yep. Yeah. Why does this guy hate this soap so much? I've done that. Like, why does this guy hate this thing so much? I'm going to go buy it and see what it's all about. Well, it turns out I fucking hate it too, but I'm not going to go on a social media mission about it because that guy, I think, might be now. Well, fuck, I think he might be, controlled opposition. Maybe he came out here to do that so that people like me would be like, fuck that. I want to see what's wrong with it. Yeah, that sucks. Blah 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 blah.
Yep.
But yeah, let's swing it back around. Let's end the show on a happy note. But before we do that, one last call to action, guys. Help us out. You can follow us on Instagram at Savagely Loud Podcast page. You have Savagely Loud links on there to my page, and Woldy too linked to his page. We're on Facebook. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. You can email us in as savagelyloudpodcast@gmail.com. Send us your feedback. Give us some likes. Give us some shares. Give us some love. And, we're going to keep doing it anyway, even if you give us hate. So, fuck it. I mean, you can give us, if you want to give us a 5-star review, even if you can talk all the shit you want, we'll read it. We'll read all the 5-star reviews. Doesn't matter what they say. You want to drop hard R's, we'll read it.
We'll read it on air.
But to finish the show, let's swing it back around for we like to do this little segment called Hopelessly Human, and it starts a little bit like...
People can be really rough. They can be quite tough. They can get in the way, but at the end of the day, some aren't only stupid, some are hopelessly human.
Yeah, welcome welcome to our Hopelessly Human segment. It's just a segment that we like to end every show with to reinstill the faith in humanity and show everybody that there's still some good people out there left. So without further ado, Mikey, what you got for us for your Hopelessly Human?
All right, so this one is from last week. So this is about two guys, Michael Saya, I don't know, and Max Fink, who are trying to make history together. They're going to compete in the Abbott World Marathon Majors for the 6th time. They've done 5Ks, Ironmans, marathons around the world. One of them has cerebral palsy.
Cerebral. I used to live down the street from my friend Gary. His son has, and it was. Cerebral, I was corrected. Yeah. Yes, I was very corrected. Very.
It's late. I'm tired. Done a lot of talking. It is what it is. Yeah, cerebral palsy, and like it's a great story about these two. I know they kind of met doing one, and one he's in a wheelchair now, and his partner just pushes him along, and they compete together. It's a great story. Yeah, they've done all sorts of things. Special Olympics. They met competing, and yeah, the other guy, his mom died of breast cancer. So they just met, and they've done races and Ironmans and all sorts of stuff all around the world.
Imagine that bond. Imagine the bond that those two people are sharing. To be such anomalies in the scheme of things, because I mean, like, I understand cerebral palsy isn't necessarily to the level of anomaly. I also understand that these other disabilities aren't. But to be in the same proximity of one another,
right,
and to be so closely related in mentality that you could hit it off as a friendship and then build it to be such a deep, beautiful thing.
Exactly.
I think that's fucking incredible. Absolutely incredible.
I mean, taking those chance meetings and building on it and running with it, like.
Literally running with it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like
that's
awesome.
It's
It's nuts. And we're just like, yeah, we're going to set a record. We're going to run this, Abbott marathon thing 6 times.
Yeah. And
as a duo.
And here's the thing. Like, people take this as a sign to do what you want to do. We've got a couple of people out here that are heavily disabled, and they're committing to doing something that they want. There are many people that don't. They would never understand why they would want to run the race. Because admittedly, let's break this down real quick. Admittedly, like I see, like you did that. What was that, Tough Mudder or some shit?
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
I still think this is the fucking dumbest thing on earth is to pay for people to pay big money to go brutalize themselves in a race for a t-shirt. Yeah, for a fucking t-shirt or a fucking piece of metal that you can hang on a wall and never do anything with because it's not actually worth anything. Like, I think it's so stupid. But here's the thing. I do a lot of things that other people find are stupid. Mm-hmm. So these, I can understand, the accomplishment that I put myself to the test. I can understand that, and I just don't get that runners run. Runners understand why runners run, but people that don't run don't understand why runners run. I get it. But if these people so heavily disabled can commit to something that is just so very run of the mill. I mean, in most people's everyday life. That I think I just find that so beautiful and I find it so inspiring and it should be inspiring to everybody else to just make the choice to commit. Choose to commit to whatever you want to commit to. It doesn't matter what it is. You need to go in the direction you need to go. So get going.
Yeah, do it. And baby steps. Baby steps. Take a look at the baby steps you did, and feed off of that, and not feed off of what you did or didn't do. Ain't nobody running an Ironman. All right, I'm gonna run an Ironman today. I haven't ran since 2012, but I'm gonna run again. Screw it. Yeah. Everyone starts like, yeah, all right, I'm gonna run 2 houses.
Right.
and then in a couple of days, it's all right, I'm running 5 houses. Yep. Like, build on the baby steps.
Build on the baby steps. Let's knock it off right there. Got anything else to add, Mikey?
I do not, man. Just everyone, thanks for listening. Please like, subscribe, say something. I don't give a shit what. But yeah.
Yeah, we really do appreciate everybody that's downloading, everybody that's listening, everybody that's sending in the feedback and following the pages and whatnot. All of our stuff is becoming more and more dynamic as we go along. Like I said, we're finishing up, we're figuring it out. Mikey's getting more into the social media end of things, and we're working that out. So, yeah, dude, just keep supporting us, and we'll keep talking about all the shit you want us to talk about.
Some shit that's really gonna ruffle some feathers is coming.
Yeah. Well, we got it. Because personal development still is at my heart's core.
Oh yeah.
And I want people to get better, but we do really need to talk about a lot of the shit that happens in the world. So we mix this up and we mix this in, and maybe we'll start doing multiple shows or something here in the future, but we'll get there. So,
yep.
Guys, until next time, please do what's best for you as long as it's not bad for somebody else. See you later.